So that's been moved and seconded. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much, Peter. Appreciate it.
everyone.
Okay, so let's go to the financial report. Russell's here.
Thanks very much, Mr. Chair, and good morning all. Yes, so this is the financial report for February. So the position is, I'll just couple of highlights and then take any questions, Mr. Chair. So year-to-date operational surplus is $29.1 million. We're forecasting that the operating surplus for the year-end at this stage is $23 million. That's an increase of just over $2 million from the previous month. So we see a trajectory here where we are slightly increasing each time. So we are working harder with the, continuing to work with the budget managers to ensure that we fully understand where the position is and where we're likely to go, rather than just accepting what is in budget, actually digging deep to make sure that we fully understand the whys, which is the important part of the equation. So what drove that extra $2 million? So there was a mix of reduction in expenditure, mostly within transport and waste, and within maintenance within Three Waters. Also noting though that Three Waters is overall it's still negative budget position, but an improvement in revenues from Burwood landfill. Offset as these items go, there's always a up and a down. So the downs are offset capitalisation in parks, so more time went into operating than capitalising, and excess water charges, as we've reported previously, continue to be down and will be for the end of the year, rest of the year. So the big items that are driving that, overall we're expecting income to be $2.5 million up at the end of the year, mainly through building and planning consent volumes, although there is a significant offset with that, with the extra costs coming through. Rec and sport continue to have an increased participation, which is driving higher revenues coming through. And like I said, resource recovery, transfer stations and processing and landfills, we're getting additional funds there. Just over $1 million, and just under $1 million rates levy, which I've mentioned a number of times in previous reports. In March, we'll receive the extra subvention receipts coming through, just on $2.8 million. Offsets in water charges, so they're down. Hagley Park parking fees that we just discussed is down, as highlighted in Peter's report. And the resource recovery MFE, there's been a reduction there in that levy coming through. In the expenditure side, we're seeing I'd say a significant reduction in budget for the year, forecast for the year. Two major items would be insurance, which we've noted from day one effectively, and waste management with lower recycling processing fees and landfill costs, $8.5 million. Debt servicing is down by $5.4 million. Well, we're forecasting to be down by $5.4 million. Largely, that's we're effectively borrowing less than we anticipated. There was the insurance funds we received, and also the slightly behind capital project, which I'll get to in a minute. And street lighting, electricity costs down by about, we're forecasting down by about $2 million. Offsetting that, like I mentioned earlier, in the building consent, so there's an extra higher $3 million above budget. But again, that's offset by the additional revenues and the parts capitalisation, which I've mentioned, so $20.7 million under an expenditure at this point, or when the report was written. In the capital space, and there's a lot more information coming in the capital program performance report immediately following, but the total program at the moment, we're about just $5 million behind, or lower than budget at the moment, and forecasting to be $32.6 million by year end. So that's a mixture of things, and I guess we term the core program will be underspent by just over $37 million, and that's offset by the early spend in the One New Zealand Stadium at Te Kaha by around $5 million, making the 32.6. But like I say, more information on this space will come through in the Capital Program Performance Report. So that's the items I wanted to cover, Mr. Chair. Happy to take any questions.
Great. Hey, thank you for that. One I had, Russell, was just around how we feed in these changes in expenditure in terms of where we're under recovering or where we're spending less on stuff like the streetlights, for example. How are we feeding that into the annual plan?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Mr. Chair, and that's part of why we feed this into where the forecast is going to be. Then we look at, okay, what's the ongoing nature of this? Is it a one-off or is it permanent? So that's what we look for. That's part of the equation.
If you took that street lighting example, if we looked at what we're going to spend this year, then inflation and things like that or usage, we would then mirror that into the annual plan. I guess what I'm saying is, we don't want to get to next year and have the same forecast issues because we've over budgeted an expenditure item.
No, you're quite correct. We don't want that position at all. So that's a big part of what we are looking at now. We're looking at budgets where we're under or over and adjusting and seeing what that adjustment does look like and where we need to amend the next plan, but also going forward. We carry 10 years worth of budget. So, we're looking at the methodology going forward, but also there's revenue items in there as well. They're up. Is that going to be ongoing? And the parking fees, which is coming back, that was on our radar as well. Okay.
What would be quite good when we get, and I don't know if it's an action we can take away from today, Bede and Russell, is just, can we get, as we work through the next sort of set of the annual plan, or the next, version of the annual plan as we come to look at it again, can we get just a bit of a summary of the cost lines this year where we've underspent and a bit of a rationale for how those figures are reflected in the annual plan?
For sure, that's a piece of work that's underway already.
Oh, great.
So part is, I guess, we're looking at cost
savings.
So
you're 2 steps ahead of me is what you're saying. So
No. Well, I think you asked for it through the... So that's underway, and that'll be coming back as part of the annual plan deliberations.
I think it'd be really good to spell that out, because it's those things where they're savings, but actually they're not affecting service. So
Correct.
The more we can explain that, the better. Yanni.
Yeah, thank you. In terms of specifics on the key revenue assumptions, I had 2 questions. One was the transport parking compliance fines. It doesn't have a forecast variance, but it's got a yield to date. And I just wanted to kind of understand, is that the new cameras that we're putting in? And do we know sort of how we're tracking in terms of meeting budget, like if we're doing better or worse?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Look, I can't give the specifics, Councillor, on why the variance is. So you see the annual budget is $4.9 million. We've got a variance year to date of $300,000. So that's positive. We're projecting that'll be square come end of year. That's what those 3 columns
so
mean.
That just means that's okay. And in terms of the excess water, and we've had a big focus on residential, but I was interested in the commercial excess water charges being quite significantly down in terms of revenue, and whether we have any understanding of why that is. And that's, maybe it's a good thing. People are using less water and putting less demand on our infrastructure, but it is quite a significant decline. So a bit to Sam's point, I guess in the draft annual plan, it might be quite good to understand how those assumptions are made and then what's actually happening over the trend.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can't tell you the why, but you're quite correct. It just means that less water is being used in the network. Oh, sorry, we
might have an answer at the back.
Yeah, and we'll continue to look at that, ready to bring back for the annual plan. But there's a number of factors there, including the wet summer. We just didn't get the uptake that we did. Yeah.
Sarah? Oh, have you got... Sorry, Yanni. Yep.
Just... obviously, it's great to have the Hagley Park parking fees called out, but I'm also wondering if there is the on-street and off-street parking, where that gets, how we monitor that. These are just the exceptions, are they, in terms of revenue?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yeah, these is the major exceptions. Like there's a gazillion exceptions, so we can find that to be, a manageable table. So these are the exceptions with over a certain dollar level, but there'll be ups and downs throughout the all budget line items. But
I don't know if other councils would find it interesting, but I certainly would find it interesting to understand what our off-street and on-street parking revenue protections are.
I think maybe that's something we could just take away, Mary, and have a look at. So yeah, I wouldn't put it on this, but okay, Sarah.
Thanks. Couple of quick things. Firstly, on the Three Waters continued high reactive maintenance volumes, can we just get some info back in the next Three Waters report that talks about that reactive maintenance stuff in a bit more detail? Because it is not in particular detail at the moment for the Three Waters space, and that it would just be good.
okay, for sure.
What's causing that? How we get it down, the plans and stuff would be good. And the parks, the least staff time capitalisation. And I'm just wondering if that's a change in methodology of how we do it, or it's to do with the types of projects we've ended up doing. Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair.
Not quite as old as Phil.
So the variance in the parks capitalisation is effectively getting the staff on board quickly enough to carry out the work in that space. So that didn't happen. So therefore there was more time spent in operating than capitalising. But that was, I think, the part of the process in bringing the
in-housing.
the activity in-house. So I don't think that's ongoing.
About the fact that that's been a bit slower than expected.
Yeah, certainly it's no change in methodology. It was just timing.
Okay, thanks.
Great, so I'll move this. Tim looks like he's happy to second it. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much, Russell.
Cool,
That's
thank you.
Great. Okay, Nikki, do you want to come up and do the capital report in Paul?